This show is brought to you by Miami Grill. For over 30 years, Miami Grill has brought you big favorites from big cities, featuring authentic ingredients prepared fresh to order with the best cheesesteaks, wings, gyros, burgers, and more. Don't just bring dinner home, bring home Miami. Order online or in person. Pickup, drive-thru, dine-in, and delivery available at all locations. If you're craving it, they're making it. Bringing Miami Grill home has never been easier. With locations all over South Florida, check mymiamigrill.com to find yours. That's mymiamigrill.com to find Miami Grill. While we're in the middle of this booming real estate market of South Florida, you may be looking to purchase a new house or refinance your current one. You can make sure that you have an attorney-owned title company handle your contract and close for the low price of $295. Reach out to our good friend Seltzer Mayberg. Give them a call at 305-444-1565 and mention 5 Reasons Sports in order to get that $295 closing fee on all purchases and refinances. So go ahead and purchase or refinance that house knowing that you'll have an attorney reviewing and handling your closing for $295 when you mention 5 Reasons Sports. You can also visit their website at onecalllegal.com where they'll be able to assist you with any of your legal needs, whether it's a divorce or a car accident or slip and fall. Everything is in-house, and they're ready to help you with whatever you may need an attorney for. That is 305-444-1565, Seltzer Mayberg. Let me introduce you to another sponsor, bestever.com. That is BSTEVR.com. Bestever.com is a fantasy sports simulator that uses real-life data to simulate hypothetical situations. For example, ever wondered if Dan Marino could win a Super Bowl with a top 10 running game? We all have. You can do that with bestever.com. Let's say the Dolphins are in the running for a big free agent. Just add him to the current team and simulate games to see how it can turn out. Just open a free account and start building your own story and have bestever.com spit out game stories just for you. Bestever is not only fun to use, but has many uses beyond just curiosity. Go to bestever.com. That's BSTEVR.com.
Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry, a podcast covering the Miami Dolphins and the NFL. Now, here's your hosts, Chris, Alf, and Simon.
Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry. I'm Simon Clancy, joined as always by my good friends Chris Kaufman and Alfredo Artiaga. We are less than a week away from the draft. It's exciting. It feels a bit weird because it's been a bit of a weird off-season. No combine, kind of no measurements, no talking about people's 40s and those sorts of things. But it's mock draft night for us. We have ruminated, cogitated, and castrated, probably the wrong word, but we've certainly cut a few players out and brought a few players in. We're going to do a mock draft, or at least a top 18 mock draft, because obviously really people only care about what the Dolphins do, so we're going to go up to 18. We are, as always, brought to you and very thankful for our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewery, with their lagers. See how easy that just rolls off the tongue there with their lagers. Yeah. What I loved actually was seeing the Biscayne Bay social media team ripping you, like setting fire to your pronunciation of lager on Twitter earlier this week, which I got great amusement from. So whoever's running that social account, congratulations. And also obviously Manscaped, who have been with us pretty much for maybe 18 months now. And you can get 20% off using the code 5RSN. As always, that's 5RSN. So let us get to the mock draft. No trades. We're just going to go through it as per. There will obviously be trades, which will obviously ruin what we're going to do for the next hour, but stay with us because I think you'll probably get something from it. So let's kick off. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work, whether or not we're all picking, are we going for a unified name, or are we all just picking the names that we like?
Yeah, we could come to a consensus, you know.
Okay. So essentially, we're just picking our own names there. I mean, consensus mentions. Let's just see where we get to. Anyway,
well, technically there are 3 of us, so one of us could break a tie every time.
Well, very true. Very true. Ultimately, as I'm in control, I will win. So that's how we're going to set up for the next half an hour or so. Let's kick off. Obviously, it goes without saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to take Trevor Lawrence. Actually,
Justin Fields.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to take Kyle Trask. What I like most of all about this, actually, is that for the first time in probably Foreverland, that Urban Meyer, to his credit, and the Jaguars generally are just accepting that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. There's no smoke. There's no, whoa, you never know what we might do. Lawrence has got the playbook. He's given 20,000. Him and his new wife Marissa given 20,000 to $20,000 to local charities and organizations in Jacksonville. He was tweeting about how he can't wait to get down there. Nobody's hiding the obvious. So he's the best quarterback to come out since Peyton Manning, in my opinion. They're obviously not going to overthink it. We all agree Trevor Lawrence is clearly going to go number one overall, and deservedly so, right? Right?
Yeah, and I think he wins a few games too. That team is not hopeless as far as talent is concerned.
He's got some
I'm
talent.
just glad it's not the Jets. I mean,
Yeah,
let's be fair.
Yeah, we dodged that bullet. Okay, like that win against the Rams was glorious. I just remembered it again right now.
He's got talent. They've got picks actually to make some inroads in terms of getting some talent around him, whether that's on the offensive line, some of the skill position players, whether that's a Pat Frymouth at tight end, whatever. But I don't think the Jaguars with that kid at quarterback are going to be bad for too long. The New York Football Jets. I saw a trailer for Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've seen Ted Lasso, but it is it's a series that's set in this country but based in the US. I think it's on NBC actually. It's on Apple TV over here. But Ted Lasso plays an American coach who I think coaches either really low down sort of Division III college football, or anyway, he comes over and takes over a Premier League team over here. And it's kind of gentle and funny. And Ted Lasso, the new trailer for the second series came out today, and they talked about terrible teams. What's the word for terrible teams that they have in England? Goes the clip, and his assistant goes, "We call them the New York Jets." So I think that's fairly apposite, really. So the Jets are up second. Joe Douglas, obviously, with his new head coach Robert Saleh at the helm. Are we thinking quarterback? Because obviously Sam Darnold is now a Carolina Panther. It is going to be a quarterback unless something incredible happens, which it won't. So is it going to be Justin Fields? Is it going to be Trey Lance? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Or is it most likely going to be a fairly astronomical rise for Zach Wilson? And I got his name right as well. Kyle Wilson. Zach Wilson. Don't do it to me, because I will end up calling him Kyle Wilson.
He is what you give me the number today, Chris. He's minus 2,000 to be the pick. I think the cat's out of the bag. Zach Wilson is going number 2.
And I think in league circles that's actually you're hearing it now. It's like they're not really attempting to hide it that much anymore.
Yeah, which is good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I do too.
What do we think of him though? I mean, he's obviously going to be in the division now. So, so what do we? I always think of him as sort of a cross between Drew Lock and Jared Goff. He's got kind of more the Jared Goff build, but he's got that sort of FU kind of mechanics of an arm of Drew Lock. He can really wing it. He can really throw the ball.
Sexy arm talent. I really like the arm talent.
I don't like the comparisons to Patrick Mahomes at all. I don't think that's accurate. Patrick Mahomes was running for his life all day, every day at Texas Tech. Whereas, and this is a huge part of the story with Kyle Wilson, is that he had all the time and space in the world behind that BYU offense, and not just because the offensive line was so good, but they didn't play anybody. they didn't play hardly anybody. So Brady Christensen, phenomenal left tackle. BYU had a very strong and stout line in front of them. And the few times when you start to see holes in the story with Zach Wilson are when the pressure started to get on, and I think that's meaningful, because what it means is it's a wild card. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know about him, what he's going to do in the NFL when the pocket gets a lot trashier. I do wonder about that. I did like the poise that he showed at the end of the Coastal Carolina game, really coming back hard on them. I think that was a meaningful, thing to see from him.
Yeah.
So he's got talent and he's potentially got poise. Obviously, he can wing it, but the pressure thing, to me, that's going to haunt.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He gives me strong Derek Carr vibes, and I don't think that's a knock. Like, I don't think anybody, if you're a Jet fan and you get Derek Carr for the next 10 years, be happy with that because you haven't had anything else for the previous 30. So Joe Namath. I guess 2 years of Richard Todd. You got 2 years of Richard Todd, which was okay. You got 1 year or 2 years of Boomer Esiason, which was average play. Pennington for 2 years. You haven't had a long-term answer. Yeah, he's Derek Carr, I would say.
Richard Todd reference. I mean,
man,
wow.
By the way, Simon, you revealed earlier that Zach Wilson has ADHD.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. So I did a piece for him with him for the magazine 3 or 4 months ago. He's got a couple of off-field issues. He's a torn labrum, a broken thumb in 2019, and he suffers from ADHD. Although he's medicated and has it under control. So yeah, but I mean, to me, he's an absolute fit in that sort of Shanahan, McVay, Gary Kubiak style bootleg offense. And the biggest question marks for me are the things he hasn't had to deal with: the level of opposition, the skill set under pressure, as Chris mentioned. But if you focus on the throws, I mean, there's a lot to work with.
That's some talent, right?
Man, that's some serious talent. So we all consensus Zach Wilson number 2 to the Jets.
Yes.
Yeah.
The intriguing pick really is number 4, but this is pretty intriguing. The 49ers and everything that you read from kind of trusted NFL media people, and the person I put most of my trust in is Peter King. And Peter says that from the people that he's talked to, that the 49ers moved up with the Dolphins, not at the time knowing exactly who they wanted, but that they knew they were going to get one of the 3 guys, whether that was Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Mac Jones, and then we're going to continue the process. They obviously had feelings and thoughts about how that would play out, but having to see them firsthand, going to see them at pro days, all 3 of them ran 2 pro days. What are we thinking here? Because there is not a single part of me that believes that Mac Jones that you can give up 2 first-rounders to go up and get Mac Jones, because to me, Mac Jones is still going to be available at 12. Unless we as sideline ham radio analysts of the NFL and the draft are so out of touch, and look, it happens, but are so out of touch with consensus thinking within the parameters of the league itself, within what scouts are doing. In the mock draft I did for the magazine, I have Justin Fields here because I think his combination of athletic ability and arm talent and that 49er system, which eliminates those issues that he has, mainly his internal clock, keeping the ball too long, those sorts of things. I think to me that makes it a natural fit. He's mobile. He's a leader, clearly. He's got a great arm. Is it going to be Mac Jones? I mean, that would be a shocker, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it could be Mac. If it is Mac Jones, they're going to be mocked. And not only are they going to be mocked, I don't know if you've read. I tend to read everybody's beat guys because I want to know what the league is thinking, and I don't necessarily learn anything by listening to ESPN or NFL Network. You got to read those beat guys. The San Francisco 49ers group of beat guys are the most relentless and negative and downright mean group in the entire NFL. If they take Mac Jones at number 3, there's gonna be issues, and they're gonna call into question everything that they're doing over there. It has to be Justin Fields, at least in my opinion.
And they'll deserve it.
Yeah.
And they'll deserve it. That's 3 first-round picks to go up and get for Mac Jones.
Crazy.
I mean, that doesn't foot.
No.
It just doesn't make sense.
So who we going here? We're going Fields or Lance or Jones? Because
Fields.
My vote is Fields.
Yeah, mine too.
I think that there's a so listen, I don't know if I buy the thing about like they didn't have a guy in mind. Like they, just one of them is going to be fine. We're going to give 3 first-round picks for just one of 3 guys. Like I kind of think. So listen, Justin Fields has been working with QB Collective since high school, right? QB Collective. That's a quarterback, training ground. And if you look at the coaches that are always part of it, the NFL coaches that are taking part, that are teaching, it is a Shanahan playground. Okay, it is Senior Mike Shanahan, it is Kyle Shanahan, and it is every one of those assistant coaches that you've seen working for the Shanahans, including this certain 49ers offensive coordinator right now, and the LaFleurs and everybody. It's just the guys out in with the Rams now. Those guys. It's just a big Shanahan camp basically. And Justin Fields has been part of it since high school and been like a big part of it since high school, like a big deal there. They've been really, pumping him. They like him. He was recruited by Harvard to try to play out of high school. I don't think that, there are some things that are going on, I think, that are probably a little bit unfair about him. There's some whispers and stuff like that about work ethic and intelligence, things like that. I don't think that that's good. It speaks well to the people that say those type of things. I think that it's possible that they've had their eyes, or that Kyle Shanahan has had his eyes on this kid for a while. I mean, that's really, and that makes sense. Like, okay, you had your eye on this guy from high school. What a nuclear talent. He runs a 4.4. He's got a nice arm. What a nuclear talent this kid is, and recruited by Harvard, very smart, impresses people on the board, everything. And you've known for a while. Okay, now that makes sense. Let's spend 3 first-round picks on him. And I think that there's synergy between the mobile quarterback, a guy with his legs, and that Kyle Shanahan offense. There always has been. There always, going back to Mike Shanahan, going back to the, we're talking about John Elway and Jake the Snake, and those kinds of things. Look at what they did with RG3 as a rookie. Mm-hmm. He had a phenomenal rookie year until egos really got into it, egos and injuries. And so I think that that's where they'll head. They'll head for the mobile guy, possibly the guy that Kyle Shanahan has been eyeballing for 3-4 years, and that's where I'm going to go.
Okay, the Atlanta Falcons. Most people think the draft starts at pick number 4. Do they stay where they are? Do they take a quarterback to replace Matt Ryan, knowing the difficulties? It's twofold: the difficulties of trading or cutting Matt Ryan, given the contract extension that he had, but also knowing that as we stand now, the 2022 draft for quarterbacks doesn't look as strong. And obviously, Arthur Blank hoping that Atlanta won't be in this position again. Therefore, it's more difficult to get a quarterback. And could you take a quarterback like a Trey Lance, who's left on the board and fits very well the Arthur Smith system, knowing that you're going to pretty much do what Green Bay is going to do with Jordan Love? What are we thinking with the Falcons? Because obviously, if it's not quarterback, then it's best player available. And if it's best player available, it's Kyle Pitts, who we're hoping falls to 6. What do you think could happen? Do you think Atlanta could trade out? There's going to be a team, maybe the Panthers, maybe the Broncos, probably not the Eagles, maybe the Patriots. Maybe, beyond that point, beyond 15, Washington and Pittsburgh, it's a long way to go from 24 to 4. You're going to have to give up a whole, but a quarterback's a quarterback. What do we think about the Falcons? What will they? Could the Falcons take a 3rd round pick from the Dolphins? That 49ers 3rd round pick to swap positions, so the Dolphins guarantee they get Kyle Pitts if that's who they want. Where do we see the Falcons pick going? Because in the mock draft of the magazine, I have them taking Trey Lance. So, what do you think?
Yeah, if they don't take Trey Lance, then this is the spot where they pull a power play. I don't see them. I would say if I'm in charge of the Falcons and I'm not necessarily into Trey Lance, I think I trade out of here because I think you can get a sizable haul for him, because I think it's the last chance. If you look at some of these teams like Carolina, it's their last chance to get up there. It's Denver, their last chance, because if the Atlanta Falcons are at 4 and they just say, you know what, give me Kyle Pitts. First of all, it will be a good pick. I have him going there in my last mock draft. But then number 5, Cincinnati. Maybe Cincinnati pulls the power play with somebody. Or maybe Miami pulls the power play. So I think there's an opportunity to get a haul if they use the pick. And since we're not trading here, I say it's BPA, and BPA is Kyle Pitts.
You said last chance there, and Kyle Pitts offers last chance in that it's last chance with Matt Ryan to make a run. And you look at Julio Jones, you look at Calvin Ridley, you look at Zacchaeus, who played pretty well, had 300, 400 yards. Russell Gage is still there. Hayden Hurst at tight end, who they traded for with the Ravens. You all of a sudden, you've got a Matt Ryan who's still an above average NFL quarterback. You've got Julio, you've got Calvin Ridley, you've got Zacchaeus, you've got Hayden Hurst, you've got Kyle Pitts. That's some serious last chance weaponry for an aging quarterback to try and have one last run, isn't it? I mean, it makes a lot of sense for an Arthur Smith who absolutely thrived with John O. Smith doing the sort of stuff you could absolutely see Kyle Pitts doing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And since we're not making a trade, that's where I go. If I'm running the team, I'm thinking about the next 3-4 years, and I'm essentially giving up on the Matt Ryan era, and I would trade the pick for a haul because I do believe it's valuable. I think that pick is valuable to some
Chris,
of
what do you think?
I think first off, Matt Ryan, it is cap prohibitive for them to cut him, for them to move on from him even next year in 2022 as a 37-year-old. So if we're thinking about quarterback here, then you're looking at a Trey Lance sitting the bench for 2 years, not just 1 year. And I don't know. Some teams might feel that's okay. Some teams, at number 4 overall, maybe not. But the thing that gives me hesitation about just plugging in Kyle Pitts for them is that there's clearly been an effort to pump Kyle Pitts and the possibility of a trade for Kyle Pitts at number 4 overall. And I think that they could be attempting to get Miami to plump up for that pick to go up from 6 to 4 and get Kyle Pitts. I just read there's talk around the league that Kyle Pitts is so good, maybe somebody will trade a first round pick to move up and get him, that he might be viewed as worth it. I think that strikes me as sort of like things that Atlanta's putting out there. But so I don't know if they're just trying to stir something up, drum up interest in the pick. I don't know if they're going to get their way, honestly, with respect to the trading. I think that they're just going to have to sit down and take the pick. And because of the cap situation, because of where they are as a team, and Matt Ryan, I think they are, as you say, add a weapon like Kyle Pitts and just try and win it all. And I think that I would note that their coach, Arthur Smith, I mean, they used some of the most 2 tight end in the league in Tennessee. And so Kyle Pitts would be, more than natural, I guess, for that team in Atlanta.
So what are we going with? Who are we picking here?
I got Kyle Pitts.
I say Pitts.
Yeah. Well, 2-1 then. So it's Kyle Pitts to the Falcons at 4. In our mock draft, you're listening to the 3 yards per carry mock draft. The Cincinnati Bengals are up next, pick number 5. I mean, protecting Joe Burrow has to be Zach Taylor's biggest priority, doesn't it? I mean, I thought the most intriguing thing about those pictures that were released the other day of the new uniforms the Bengals had wasn't the new uniforms. It was the enormous scar on Joe Burrow's knee. And I don't think signing Riley Reif changes the fact that offensive line needs to significantly improve. You've got a quarterback you've invested in. He's the first overall pick. He's the face of your franchise off the field. He's the face of the franchise on the field. He's the guy you build around for the future. And yet he got, beaten up, and then he had his ACL torn on a monster hit. You've got to take Penny Sewell or Rashawn Slater, haven't you? I mean, you've got to. I mean, as much as he might want Jamar Chase. You can come out of this draft having taken Penei Sewell at 5 and Terrace Marshall in the 30s if he makes it. To me, that's an absolute no-brainer. You've got to protect this kid.
Now, let me ask you this, Simon. They used 11th overall on Jonah Williams a year ago.
Yeah.
Is it
play him guard, play him right tackle? I mean,
okay. Well, I guess that doesn't bode well for Zach Taylor taking a guard at 11th overall last year, but I don't know. Do you think
I think
that
Riley Reef? I think Riley Reef is there to play left tackle, and I think Jonah Williams is going to play right tackle.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. You think, Simon, that maybe they could say, "Hey, we took Jonah Williams last year, 11th overall. What do you mean we need a tackle?"
That was 2 years ago, though, wasn't it?
2019. Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, do you think that they might convince themselves and say, "Nah, we got our tackle set right now. Let's go get Jamar Chase." Do you think that that could happen?
If you are Zach Taylor and you believe that Riley Reef is the answer to the question, how can I protect Joe Burrow, then you probably shouldn't be in gainful employment.
But why sign him then?
My take. Well, you sign him because, I mean, fuck knows. Why would you sign him? But, a Minnesota Vikings cast-off who couldn't protect Kirk Cousins is all of a sudden going to protect Joe Burrow?
They did. It's not like they gave him a veteran minimum contract.
No,
he got $7.5 million.
Well, maybe you're playing him right tackle and you're kicking Jonah Williams inside.
You know who's their swing tackle, right?
I mean,
Isaiah Prince.
I
mean,
that's funny.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
So are you boys thinking Jamar Chase?
I am thinking Jamar Chase. I think
that they'll
Burrow
convince themselves. I think that they're going to sit down and if you look at the interior of the line, Billy Price is, I guess he's an okay center. He had a decent year. They just signed Quentin Spain, so I guess Quentin Spain's going to play one of the guard spots. I don't know. I think they'll convince themselves. I think that they're gonna say maybe we'll dip into a tackle in the second round. Let's go get Joe Burrow, the guy that helped them get the greatest season in the history of college football. So I would say
the magic that Joe Burrow had at LSU, you could really argue. I mean, you're probably not gonna argue that it was because of the God, what was the left tackle's name? Charles. Who's not really
Sadiq Charles.
Sadiq Charles. Probably not so much him. It was who he was throwing to. I mean, he's throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall and Randy Moss's kid. And so I think that they're gonna look at that and they're gonna start convincing themselves, well, we bought this guy for a reason. We got Joe Burrow for a reason. Let's, he can really lead us to mega offense if we put those weapons around him. That's why we got him. And with the quarterback himself coming in your office and saying, please, on Jamar Chase, it's really hard. It's really hard to just look him in the eye and say no. Especially with Jamar Chase. It'd be different if Jamar Chase wasn't such a consensus rated player for 5, that high. If he wasn't so consensus rated high, then it'd be a different story. But he is being considered an elite player in this draft. It's Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase is what everybody is saying among the non-quarterbacks. So that's tough. That's
T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase is pretty sexy. I mean,
yeah.
And Joe Mixon's been a good back in the league whenever he's been healthy. So
yeah,
and that's what he had at LSU.
So we're going with you again. I know. So Jamar Chase. The Miami Football Dolphins are the 6th pick. No Jamar Chase, no Kyle Pitts, but Penei Sewell is still on our board, as is Devonta Smith, as is Jaylen Waddle, as is Rashawn Slater. What are we thinking? As is Micah Parsons, as is Kwity Paye. What are we thinking, gentlemen, for the Miami Dolphins at pick number 6?
Well, what was the Vegas odds again? Offense, it was minus 1,500. Offense over defense.
I'm calling Carolina and seeing what, if they want the pick at this point, because I think the choice, you need a pass catcher. Like, you can't spend all this time talking about it and then, doing something else.
If Trey Lance and Mac Jones are still on the board here,
Dolphins are absolutely trading this pick.
You're expecting calls from the Broncos
and Carolina.
The Patriots.
I don't think the Carolina Panthers.
I don't think Carolina either.
Okay.
I think they're out.
Washington, 9. Would you go all the way back to 19?
I think Washington and Chicago might be calling, and those might be the most compelling packages.
But I think that Denver. I think Denver is. You can safely trade back to where Denver is, and get Waddle. I believe.
Yeah, but will Denver safely trade up?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Detroit is going to take a quarterback, and Carolina is, like we said, or Simon and I think anyway, Carolina's out. So
if the Chicago
Denver
Bears,
could stare it down.
Yeah, if the Chicago Bears offer you the 2022 first rounder and the 2023 first rounder, and you're missing out though on the opportunity to get one of Pitts, Chase, Smith, and Waddle, do you take it?
It's too much. I have to take it. It's 3 first-round picks. Well, 2 first-round picks. And the premium, yeah, I'd probably take it. I'd probably take it. And then I start, reshuffling my board for a pass catcher. Because you'd have Rashad Bateman at 20.
You'd have picks at 18, 20, 36, 50, plus 2 first rounders next year and 2 first rounders in 2023.
Yeah, you almost have to do it, right?
And by the way, I do hope San Francisco does take Mac Jones, because I think those San Francisco picks are going to be really high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's too tempting, right? It's just too much. I mean, you'll cry about it because we really obviously we got our heart set on some players in the top 10 and 6. Speaking
of our heart set on players, what are we thinking for our mock draft? No trades.
Right.
It comes down really to Devonta Smith and Jaylen Waddle, by the way that this board has fallen. What are we thinking here?
Earlier today, I made a list of every single Heisman Trophy winner that was not a quarterback since 1974. It's about 20 of them, 24 of them. There's one bust in the entire group, and that's Rashaan Salam.
To be a receiver. Oh no! What about Desmond Howard?
I wouldn't call Desmond Howard a bust.
What do you have? Like 100 catches in the NFL?
No, but I wouldn't call him where he was drafted. Would you call him a bust?
Well, okay. Are we saying all right, a bust? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why we go with bust and not just like were they good players or not. But
I think Desmond Howard was a good player. No. Let me
see. He he did play for a while. Okay, he had 244 catches. Oh no, wait, no. What am I looking at? He was a return man.
Yeah, Desmond Howard here. He was
a
return man.
123 catches for 1,600 yards in a 10-year career, and he was primarily a return man.
Yeah, he has 8 punt return touchdowns. Is that correct? That what he did with his career? No, those are 8 receiving touchdowns.
No, these are 8 punt return touchdowns.
So he had 8 punt. So he essentially was a specialist.
A one a year. Got a touchdown a year.
Yeah. I would say that's not what they expected with that pick. So you could call him a bust. He had one productive season. He's essentially a specialist.
He was 4th overall. I forgot he was 4th overall.
Yeah.
So it's like there's not. Your point is there's not many busts among the non-quarterback Heismans. And I think it's a good point, but it's also like one of the ones that was a bust was a receiver.
And the other one was Rashaan Salam, but that was injury wise. He had 1,000 yards rushing as a rookie. So, man, I don't know how you could look at the production that Devonta Smith has, and then just take his teammate. I don't get it. Like, how do you justify that? I'll tell you if it does come to that, and I don't mind them doing this. If it comes down to they're in the draft room and it shakes out exactly how we've laid it out here, and they decide, okay, it's going to be Devonta Smith or Jaylen Waddle, why not have Tua decide? If he tells you one guy's better than the other, don't you have to listen to him, Simon?
I think you have to listen. I mean, I would take Devonta Smith. I would be most disappointed if not. I would be more disappointed if we took Jaylen Waddle than any of those 4 receiver / tight end that we've talked about. I mean, not that I don't like Waddle, because I do, but you compare the production, you compare the injuries, you compare the size. People talking about Devonta Smith is too small, 166 pounds. Guys, Jaylen Waddle is 5'9" and 172 pounds, dripping wet. So let's be realistic here. I would always take the guy that runs better routes, that's got better hands, and is already really good. Jaylen Waddle is obviously a good player. There's just much more for him to, ceiling might be higher, but his floor is significantly lower. And I think, you've just got to be, it's a year to be safe because of all the things that we have been out of everybody's control, and to me, Devonta Smith is a really good, safe pick player, and I would take Devonta Smith at this point. And if the Dolphins took Jaylen Waddle over Smith, I'd be pretty disappointed, I've got to say.
Yeah, I don't know how you justify it.
I take Devonta Smith, but I think the Dolphins take Jaylen Waddle, and that's the truth. And that's I think I don't want to be, because we run around, because this thing lasts for so long, the draft season, right? It goes so long. We run ourselves around in circles, right? And we've got way too long to think about this. And sometimes you wonder if we overthink it. They have Will Fuller on the outside. They have Devontae Parker on the outside. They have nobody on the inside. And Jaylen Waddle is a slot receiver. That is what he is. That's what he's been in Alabama. And he's not just a slot receiver. What he would do to the defensive spacing with Will Fuller on the outside and Jaylen Waddle on the inside, what the fronts that they're going to see, the defenses that they're going to see, will get that run game started again. And that's what I think they have to be looking at as the fit. In addition to being a good player, listen, NFL teams have him rated this high, Jaylen Waddle. They love him. And I've said for a while now, you go to that GPS data and stuff like that. He is traveling on that field at a different speed than everybody else. And it's not 40 speed, it's field speed. And I think that's what's compelling teams about him. In addition to being a phenomenal character, Nick Saban said that this is 2 years in a row that probably the most popular player in the locker room went down with injury, because last year it was Tua, obviously, and then this year Jaylen Waddle. Everybody loves the guy. He's infectious personality, hard worker. Everything that you could say about Devonta Smith and his personality, I think it probably also goes for Jaylen Waddle. And I think that just looking at the fit and what he could, they're going to stare down, like, what could he mean to our offense? And I think that they might pull the trigger there and just say, this is, when you went to Trent Dilfer, nobody knows Tua quite so well as Trent Dilfer, right? And when he goes on a podcast at the beginning of draft season and it is like, what does Miami have to do to get Tua jump started? First words out of his mouth were Jaylen Waddle. He said, I'd go draft Jaylen Waddle. He didn't say Devonta Smith. And I noted that, and I was like, why is that? You know what? And it stuck with me. So I think the Dolphins might have their eyes on Jaylen Waddle here, and we disagree with it. I would take Devonta Smith. I'm with you, but
and let me say this: if we're gonna read some tea leaves here, if you this little gambit that they pulled, trading to 12 and then moving back up to 6. Chris Greer essentially kind of confirmed that the plan was to end up where they ended up. So it was essentially a 3-team deal, right? If you're moving to 6, you're essentially screaming to everybody, Jaylen Waddle, aren't you? Because Kyle Pitts, at number 3, you guarantee yourself Kyle Pitts. Right. Now he's no longer a guarantee. So you're making the conversation about Devonta Smith and Jaylen Waddle because you had to have an inkling that Jamar Chase could go to Cincinnati. So you're putting Jamar Chase in jeopardy, moving down to 6. So essentially, this whole little gambit is kind of telling us that the question is Devonta Smith or Jaylen Waddle. No, this is just 2 + 2 type of stuff, but doesn't that make a little sense?
So who are we going for? Because it's 1:30 in the morning and we've still got 11 picks to go through.
Yeah, we'll burn through the next picks after Miami, I think. But
I would take Devonta Smith. He's the better player on the same team.
Are we on the basis of who we take, or are we on the basis of who we think?
Let's do who we take, and next week with the proper draft show, let's do who we think they'll take.
Okay.
Right. So we go Devonta Smith, yeah?
Devonta Smith.
Number 7, the Detroit Lions. Now, in my mock for the magazine, I had Jamar Chase falling to this point. I mean, they have nobody at receiver, and obviously gives Jared Goff some fairly immediate juice. Would they take the one receiver that doesn't the Dolphins
Waddle.
don't take? So, i.e. Jaylen Waddle. Yeah.
If Penei Sewell's on the board, how do they?
Yeah.
Well,
right?
Didn't they pay Taylor Decker a ton of money?
So
So
you could play Penei Sewell at left guard. You could. I mean, that's a hell of a.
I don't think they're going to take him high and play him at left guard, right?
Just for the time being, I think. But that gives you Decker, Sewell, Frank Ragnow. I mean, that's a hell of a left side and middle.
And that's right up Campbell's alley now.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is Dan
Smash
Campbell,
mouth
Man Campbell, smash mouth. He's got Taylor Decker, and now he gets Penei Sewell, who we've talked about can play on the right side. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a legit tough one. Jaylen Waddle or Penei Sewell.
Interesting. Who are we going for?
Penei Sewell, I would say.
I mean, their receivers currently are Geronimo Allison, Victor Bolden, Quentis Cephas, Tom Kennedy, Damian Ratley, Khalif Raymond, Tyrell Williams, and Brashard Perryman.
They got nothing out there. That's bad.
Jaylen Waddle.
It's Jalen. It's got to be Jalen Waddle. I mean, their offensive line, they've got Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow, Logan Stenberg, Vaitai, who started at left tackle in the Super Bowl for the Eagles. So they've got bodies. You could get a Liam Eichenberg if you want to go left tackle. I mean, I'm not sure Jared Goff's going to be entirely thankful of that receiver lineup. I know there's TJ Hawkinson.
They have 2 guys that can play. They have guys that can play on the outside with Tyrell Williams and Rashad Perriman. And so Jaylen Waddle, kind of a natural fit there too because of his being a slot.
So we going Waddle? Sorry, I'm yawning. It's not on purpose. Are we going Waddle?
Waddle.
Yeah, I'll change my vote to Waddle.
Nice. Carolina at 8. In the magazine, I've gone Patrick Surtain with the 4. But, they've signed Sam Darnold, as we know. They could take Penei Sewell here. They could take Rashawn Slater.
Absolutely. It'll be Penei Sewell. You know why? Because in the depth chart, their starting left tackle is Cameron Irving. So that's all you need to know.
There you go. We all agree Penei Sewell?
I think they might be the team. There's supposedly teams out there that have Rashawn Slater above Penei Sewell. And I wonder if that's the team that is, I had them in my mock draft. I had them taking Rashawn Slater, but that was easy because Penei was off the board. I guess if we're making it easy on ourselves, we'll go with Penei Sewell, I guess. But
okay. The Denver Broncos at number 9. Again, there are still a quarterback. There are still 2 quarterbacks on the board here. There are also 2 big corners, and they struggled mightily at cornerback last year. In the magazine, I've gone for JC Horn, but we've got Trey Lance and Mac Jones on this board currently. What are we thinking?
There's no way that they stare at those 2 quarterbacks, and I know we've talked enough about Mac Jones on this podcast and others, but I think they take Trey Lance. There's no way you look at Drew Lock and say, "Okay, we're good here." Like they'll take Trey Lance.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I would. That's what I have. They did sign Kyle Fuller at corner.
Yeah,
that's
very true.
And Ronald Darby. So that's they shored that up. So I would go with Trey Lance.
Yeah, Fuller's a good signing actually.
Yeah,
Fuller's a good signing.
Oh, he's a good player.
Yeah, a very good player. The Dallas Cowboys at number 10.
I think this one easy. No.
It's got to be that
Pat
remaining
Surtain.
tackle.
Yeah, you get Trevon Diggs and Patrick Surtain. You start with something. Their defense was historically bad last year. I think that's a pretty good start.
I think they take the remaining tackle. That offensive line is falling off a cliff, and you've got your injured quarterback coming back, who you've just paid super
For what
dollars.
it's worth, the betting line on whether they go offense and defense is defense minus 500. So that's
Remember,
pretty
Tyron
strong.
Smith is coming back, Simon.
Yeah, from his 8,000th injury over the last couple of years.
And Leo Collins should be getting a contract soon. So I don't know.
Simon, you think it would be Pat if it was between Pat Surtain and J.C. Horn? Who do you think they would do?
I mean, they're 1 and 1A, mate, aren't they? I mean, I think probably Surtain.
Yeah. That's my guess as well.
But yeah, so we're going Surtain over a lineman here.
Yeah, two Alabama corners.
That's
Cool.
what I'd have.
Cool. Number 11, the New York Football Giants, desperate in what could be the final year of Daniel Jones's tenure, looking for a weapon, but there are no weapons on the board because we have Waddle, Smith, Chase, and Pitts all gone. What would you do if you were Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge here?
I think you want something for the middle of that defense. No, Micah Parsons starts to make a little sense here. Xavier Collins makes a little sense.
Do they help out Daniel Jones?
I don't think anything is going to help Daniel Jones at this point. So
Surely
They're not going to agree with that.
Surely you've got to facilitate him as best you can, though, right?
They just
absolutely.
They just plunked down a lot of money for Kenny Galladay. So
and if you look at that offense on the offensive line, Nate Solder's still there. Andrew Thomas should take over that spot for good. Matt Peart is their right tackle. Shane Lemieux is their left guard. Remember him out of Oregon? So, it looks like they're building something on that offensive line. Zach Fulton is their right guard.
There's always shocks in the draft. There's always players that go higher. And consistently over the past 2 months, one name has stood out to me, certainly, of players that the NFL clearly values much higher than everybody else. Now, I'm not saying he is worthy of the 11th overall pick at all. But the name Elijah Moore of Ole Miss continues to be talked of in much higher regard than a lot of us seem to think so. Mm-hmm. Could you, in the history of NFL shocks that we've obviously had in the draft, could you see Elijah Moore going as high as 11?
Henry Ruggs went last year, 8th? So
it's the GM to do it, though, right?
Yeah, isn't it?
Dave Gettleman's the total, I don't care what anybody thinks guy.
This is the guy that had a Rolodex on his desk last year, remember?
In the end, I say no, though, because of, the huge signing, monster contract to Kenny Galladay, and presence of Sterling Shepard is quite good. They get Darius Slayton. I mean, they just signed John Ross, whom Miami evidently tried to get even after, even despite what they've already done. Another reason I voted for Miami going Jaylen Waddle is they're on the speed kick right now. But anyway, yeah, I think they've got the receiver. I really think I think defensive front. I think yes, they just re-signed Leonard Williams, but I think that they're gonna want somebody up. I think a Kwity Paye could go here. Somebody on the end, that a bigger, stronger body, because Lorenzo Carter's, kind of a light rusher. He's kind of, they call, I've heard it referred to as like a fifth rusher almost.
Yeah.
And so I think that you could be looking at this as Kwity Paye's spot.
Yeah. I could certainly see that with no weapons on the board. And Rashad Bateman, who I like an awful lot. You wonder about Bateman and Golladay in terms of skill sets and those sorts of things. And so we're going with your choice there, Chris, for the Giants, for Kwity Paye.
That's my vote, Kwity Paye.
Yeah, I can see
that.
That
Makes a lot of sense.
I can see that. The Philadelphia Eagles obviously were up. They then moved down with us from 6 down to 12. Again, another team that could use receiver help, but also a team that could use cornerback help. And to me, I see the big name of J.C. Horn out there.
Yeah.
Right.
seems to make an awful lot of sense, right?
Absolutely. And for years we've been hearing about them needing a wide receiver, but at the same time we've been hearing them needing a cornerback. They spent money on Darius Slay. I don't think that gave them the returns they expected. I think it makes sense. Perfect sense. JC Horn here.
Yeah.
Well, also they just spent it. They don't want to. I mean, there's optics involved of taking a receiver again.
Yeah.
They just took Jalen Reagor last year in the first round, and remember the Vikings were on camera, on video laughing, because they passed over Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
I think you're right about corner. J.C. Horn.
The LA Chargers at 13. In the magazine, I gave them Elijah Vera Tucker. They need offensive line help in a big way. Obviously, Justin Herbert had a monster year, and you kind of want to keep him, much as you do with Joe Burrow, you kind of want to keep him healthy and upright. We haven't picked Rashawn Slater at this point, have we? Or have we?
Yeah,
no,
I have not. I think he picks himself here.
Yeah,
he makes too much sense.
Yeah,
they don't have much. They don't have much on that offensive line, and they have, conveniently enough, they have a gaping hole at left tackle as of right now, because their left tackle is something called Trey Pipkins.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and last I checked, let me see, Trey Pipkins drafted in round 3 in 2019. Yeah, that's not who's gonna.
He's a
huge human being.
I don't think that's who's protecting.
No.
Justin Herbert.
No, this is a build. This is a build around. You've nailed Justin Herbert. You build around him now.
Yeah.
So
Sean Slater. Your time is up. Similarly, the Minnesota Vikings at 14, they kicked Ezra Cleveland to guard. There is no starting caliber left tackle on the roster because we talked about Riley Reif going to the Cincinnati Bengals. In the magazine, I had them taking Christian Darrisaw. Vera Tucker is on the board still. Darrisaw is there. Are we thinking offensive line, or are we thinking something else for the Vikings?
I look at that defensive line and that flex 4-3 that they're playing, and Levi Onwuzurike, I think, makes a ton of sense here, doesn't he?
Feels a little high
for him. I think Christian Barmore is more their cup.
Yeah,
really?
To me, because they have a history in that particular defense with penetrating defensive tackles. Tom Johnson comes to mind. It's a similar defense. Remember Cincinnati? They had what's his name? Geno Atkins. I think that Barmore. I have Barmore mocked here personally, and that's where I think that they could go that way because there's a real benefit in that defense to a guy that can penetrate like that.
So we're going left tackle or defensive lineman? Given Barmore's got some issues off the field as well.
He does. That's true.
And no left tackle. Yeah, O'Neill's a right tackle, isn't he? No real left tackle. Because unless they're thinking of moving Ezra Cleveland, but they made a big point of saying that he was going to be a guard.
Yeah, right now on the depth chart is Rashad Hill.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, he was a UDFA, I believe.
They have. Yeah, that's a fair point, man. Elijah Vera Tucker, could he play left tackle?
Yeah, Vera, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's honestly the only position I'm interested in him.
Yeah.
I don't like him as much at guard. He just wasn't as interesting when he had to sit down at guard. When he gets to play a little higher and more athletically.
Yeah.
At tackle.
Vera Tucker or Darrisaw?
Vera Tucker.
Okay.
I think the NFL's higher on him than a lot of people.
I kind of like Darrisaw a little bit better for them because I like Vera Tucker for somebody else. But if the consensus is going to be an offensive lineman, I'll go Vera Tucker since you have Vera Tucker, Simon.
Yeah, I like Vera Tucker there. The New England Football Patriots can sit exactly where they are, and Mac Jones is still on the board. So, I mean, the fit.
That's what I have too.
The fit sort of seems too good to pass up, and McDaniel's system might negate some of his limitations athletically, because obviously Josh has worked for so long with an unathletic quarterback in Mr. Tom Brady. Jones?
Yes. On my mini board here, I have possible dropping to them. JC Horn is who I would have them taking if Mac Jones is gone, but I have Mac Jones right under him, so it'll be Mac Jones.
There's some Stephen Gilmore in JC Horn, so I can certainly see that being a fit. The Arizona Cardinals, the oldest team in the National Football League. What are we thinking in terms of? I mean, for me in the magazine, I had Greg Newsome because although they signed Malcolm Butler and Robert Alford, they were just one-year deals, and that secondary on the perimeter needs a long-term talent injection. I've also seen, I've seen a couple of mock drafts of. I think Peter Schrager had the Cardinals trading up to take Jaylen Waddle to give Kyler Murray even more talent on the receiver position. Obviously, potentially losing Larry Fitzgerald. What do we think here for the Cardinals? They could go in a number of directions, really, couldn't they? Because defensively, you could, they've got JJ Watt, obviously, but defensive linemen could be in play. You look at a safety like Trayvon Moehrig, corner, obviously, that we talked about. A lot of directions they could go in.
Yeah, Xavier Collins makes
a running back. Micah Parsons,
Yeah, a lot of things make a lot of sense. They need some pass rush. On my mock draft, I gave them Caleb Farley because what do they have at corner right now? They have Malcolm Butler.
They have Malcolm Butler and Robert Alford, and Byron Murphy.
It's not great.
It's not stacked.
Not stacked, but yeah.
And then Micah Parsons is
I do think that they're a candidate to do something strange and maybe take Najee Harris. I really do believe that they could do something like that.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
I had Micah Parsons going to them. I think that they let what's his name go, the Hassan Reddick. They dealt with. At the linebacker position, they had Jordan Hicks taking 1,000 snaps, and I didn't think he was that good.
Isaiah Simmons is going to play a lot this year.
He's going to play a lot, but I think that Isaiah Simmons and Micah Parsons fit together.
Yeah,
you can't make Isaiah Simmons into what you could make Micah Parsons.
I mean, another guy in the Elijah Moore mold is Washington outside linebacker edge Joe Tryon, who's not a guy I like at all, but I've seen him rated significantly higher than I've had him, and I've seen him in a lot of sort of 25 to 32 area. Joe Tryon as a Hassan Reddick replacement? Just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it's a thing.
I think Xavier Collins makes more sense for them.
Yeah, that's a decent shout too. I think if Parsons is on the board, I think it's hard for them to pass up, but I could easily see them take it back as well.
At this point, like J.C. Horn and Micah Parsons are on the board. I'm going to make a case for those two being the picks before us because I don't think either one of them is going to be on Miami's board at 18. Do you?
No.
And so we've kind of gone through, but like somehow we might end up with Micah Parsons or J.C. Horn on the board at 18 when none of us really thinks that's going to happen.
No. Who are we going for, Arizona?
To me, either J.C. Horn or Micah Parsons.
Okay. Pick one now.
I'll go with J.C. Horn.
Yeah, I'd say J.C. Horn too.
J.C. Horn makes so much sense. They need a corner.
Yeah. The Raiders. I mean, the weirdest offseason in the NFL the Raiders have had. They've got issues at right tackle. They've also brought in Yannick Ngakoue, who they hope can generate some pass rush because they've really struggled, and we'll try and do that opposite Max Crosby because
Cleveland Farrell
hasn't really worked out, has he?
I thought he was pretty good.
I had Trayvon Moehrig I had in the magazine
Really?
Because it allows the kid from Mississippi State to just become a bit more of a box safety because he's such a liability in coverage. He gets lots of rep for his big hits, but coverage-wise, and Moehrig can cover in the slot. He can play single high. I don't know. You look at someone like Tevin Jenkins, if you're looking for a pure right tackle, who's a good player. So I don't know what we're thinking. And Micah Parsons is still there, and Parsons fits the mold of a Raiders player. So
yeah, well, they need linebacker.
Yeah, don't
they had that turned into a disaster from an injury standpoint.
Yeah,
100%. The linebacker position, and then they bought Raekwon McMillan off us. Now that's already gone. He's already gone to New England. I think a linebacker would really fit there, and I think Micah Parsons is just such a natural pick to me.
Alf?
They got rid of every single offensive lineman, which is interesting, right? You have 5 of them. They got rid of 4 of them. Holton Miller, they give him a big contract at left tackle. They have nothing else. So I would say it has to be an offensive lineman here, right? You got rid of all of them. You kept one.
Well, they have Nick Martin at center. That's a starter.
They're getting rid of Rodney Hudson.
I think Tevin Jenkins.
They have Richie Incognito. They start him. That's.
I mean, he's what, 52? Crazy, is he 53? I think I do think Tevin Jenkins. Yeah, I think Tevin Jenkins makes an awful lot of sense here. I've got to say.
Yeah, with that running game, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake.
He'd be my pick.
And I like Tevin Jenkins. He would be on my board for 18.
You're outvoted, Christopher.
No, damn it.
So, the final pick in our mock draft, and apologies to everybody else who was hoping we'd go all the way, but it's 4 a.m. already and whatever, and it's not going to happen. The Miami Dolphins on the clock at 18. This is what we would do. Next week, we'll bring you what we think the Miami Dolphins will do in association with our sponsors, Biscayne Brewing and Manscaped. The Dolphins at 18 on the board from some of the players that we haven't selected so far. Christian Darrisaw, Greg Newsom, Trevor Morig, Micah Parsons, Jeremiah Wusu-Koromoa, Elijah Moore, Terrace Marshall, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Jalen Phillips, Xavier Collins, Eric Stokes, Asante Samuel, Travis Etienne, Aziz Ojulari. Where are we going here? What do we think?
Well, you're going to get a good player, right? So
you are.
So I look at this, and your quarterback's Tua Tagovailoa, right? You just drafted Devonta Smith. Well, we drafted Devonta Smith. Put the Super Friends together. I know that you're jumping the gun, and especially the way that this board has shaken out. But now that Tevin Jenkins has gone before this pick, I'll give myself an excuse, and I'll just take Najee Harris.
Christopher?
I think they would love to pair them. I think that they are going to get one of those 3 running backs. I really just don't think it's going to be at 18. Like I'm starting to really doubt that. I think that Miami is going to. I think that they're probably targeting this pick. They're gonna gamble here. They're gonna go for something, and it makes me. It naturally points me in the direction of Jalen Phillips, because that is the gamble. That is a gamble, right? That is, he's got medical issues, but Miami has taken chances on medical issues. They have a lot of faith in their training staff, and also the sports analytics that does so much with measuring strength and range of motion and fatigue and stuff like that. This is what they use all that GPS data and stuff like that for. They believe in their ability to, help guys out, get the right helmet for them if they've got concussion issues and stuff like that. I just think, the way you hear some of the people are connected to the league talking about Jalen Phillips, like he'd be a top 10 pick, if he didn't have the medical issues. They've already taken a guy in the first round, right? Miami has, so they can get chancy, right? This is a little bit of a luxury, and that screams luxury to me, Jalen Phillips.
It's not even the concussions that worry me so much. It's the wrist problems after that bike accident. It's the ankle issues. But he's a good player. I think he's the best all-around edge in the draft. I think, I'm a big Kwity Paye fan. I'm a big Joseph Asai fan. But I think Phillips has an all-around skill set. The other guys, Alf, that are on the board, obviously Xavier Collins, who we talked about on the show earlier this week, obviously just fits like a glove. If Tevin Jenkins is there, you kick Robert Hunt inside. Obviously the backs, and we don't know. I've been told Travis Etienne is a name to look out for. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But, Harris, Williams, Etienne, do they double down and go receiver and get Terrace Marshall? Do they? The one name I keep hearing, the one name I've been told on a number of occasions, and it makes no sense whatsoever, is Asante Samuel Jr. Not that it doesn't make sense because he's not a good player, because he really is. To me, he's Jair Alexander 2.0. But it's the fact that the Dolphins already have Byron Jones and they spent the first rounder on Noah Igbenogany and with Xavier Howard. The caveat is, would the Dolphins look to move Xavier Howard? There's a potential contract negotiation coming up. Could you see a draft day trade where the Dolphins move Xavier Howard to Green Bay Packers, for example, who are looking for a corner to pair up with Alexander? Would you see them moving them to the Kansas City Chiefs, who could, look for a corner?
Well, that would be one way to have one really angry podcaster on this podcast.
But there's a reason why they took Noah Igbenogany last year, and that was because there was a lack of belief in Xavier Howard from a physical point of view. Because and yes,
he goes out and gets 10 interceptions.
Of course, but
I don't know.
Is he a 10 interception a year guy, or is he a guy that all of a sudden the knees start to get sore again and he misses time and he's asking for big money? He's already paid big money and he wants even bigger money. And I think he's just changed agent, hasn't he, to Bilbo, who was
he got rid of Bilbo.
Oh, did he get rid of? Okay, take that back. But yeah, I mean, I'm just putting it out there. It's just a name I've been told consistently. Asante Samuel, and he's one of the few names that I've seen that the Dolphins have had extended meetings with, so more than one meeting with Asante Samuel, which again is of interest.
Could he play a safety position? Could he be our next Bobby McCain?
Could be, I suppose. I mean, he plays well in man and his zone. He's great with the ball in front of him, so he's got great instincts. He's small though, or smaller.
Yeah,
is he 5'11", 180?
Well, that's bigger than Bobby McCain.
Well, yeah, true. Just trying to look at his pro day number. Scroll down. I think he was 5'11".
Okay, so we got three different answers here. Is that what I'm seeing? Alf goes with Najee Harris. I say Jalen Phillips. I say gamble, or they're gonna gamble.
I would say Xavier Collins.
You say Xavier Collins.
Yeah.
Well, Micah Parsons is there too, but
yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Although I will say this, since there's two edges on here, I would agree on Xavier Collins over Jalen Phillips.
Although I might agree on Micah Parsons over all of them.
Yeah.
So
that's where I put in the magazine. I put Micah Parsons. Yeah. I said Najee would be great quality, great addition here, but Parsons, just the value of the system fit.
Yeah.
Too good to pass up.
I could go with that. I mean, the only thing throwing a monkey wrench in that is that, are they going to avoid the layoff guys, the opt-out guys?
Yeah, exactly. Samuel was 5'10", 180, so that's small.
I don't think that's going to be 18, honestly.
No, I don't either. But
Micah Parsons, I could go with. If we're coming off Jalen Phillips, I could go on to Micah Parsons.
Yeah, Alf.
I think it's a value pick.
If I'm outnumbered, I'm outnumbered. But I'm a no on Micah Parsons. If we are going an edge player and I could get somebody on my side for Xavier Collins, I could do that. If not, I'll go with you guys.
Parsons it is. There you go. We've done 1 to 18. It's taken us 4 days. It's now Saturday. But yeah, we
let's keep going to the 7th round.
Yeah.
Let's not.
And my 7-year-old will never go to bed.
Yeah, my 16-year-old and my 14-year-old will be 42 and 41 or 39 or whatever it is by the time we finish. That is it, people. We have given you some serious draft information this week. Earlier on, you got linebackers and some interesting discussion around what we thought about that position and some quarterback chat. And you've had an 18-team mock draft, including 2 selections for the Miami Dolphins, one of whom was Devonta Smith, and the second was a not unanimous decision, but Alf got outvoted on Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons. Next week, we will be in draft week. We will be hours, literally, away from the start of the 2021 annual selection meeting. We will hopefully have picked up some scuttlebutt and some gossip, and we'll talk about what we think the Dolphins will do. Obviously, this is what we thought.
And also a change of schedule next week. Only one show, one lonely draft preview show on Wednesday.
Thank God for that. There is no more, as Alf would say. We will see you on draft week, don't forget to buy the draft book. It's literally less money than it costs you to get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. And if you're getting a cup of coffee over Starbucks and you're not buying the draft book, then frankly, you're a selfish fuck. So have a lovely week. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to 3 Yards Per Carry. You can subscribe via iTunes, on Podbean, or your usual podcast provider.